Alrighty then, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started with the next presentation. Can you hear this? Is it coming out? Yes, it's coming out. No. Okay, right. So over here and here and here and here, we have Team Bitcore. So they're going to give us a technical overview of Bitcore versus Bitcoin. And we have over here Greg and we have Ivo. So please give them both a round of applause.
Hi, guys. Hi. Can you hear me?
Thank you very much.
Can you hear me, guys? Yep. Can go up a little bit, I think. Can you guys hear me? Hi, cool. So today I want to present you about Bitcore and our new cryptocurrency, which is out from April 2017. And just a quick overview, here is Ivo. He will show you something interesting with a demo machine. The core Bitcore team, Chris, Steve, and John, somewhere in the back. I will introduce them later. So what is Bitcore? Is everyone heard about Bitcore here? Or, yeah, oh, cool, that's good.
Not all at once, please.
So many notes. So Bitcore is, what is Bitcore? So we started Bitcore in April 2017. Oh, I need to go there, because, sorry. So it started, everyone knows Bitcoin, and so I don't need to show that, but yeah, it's a decentralized digital currency. Last year there was a big debate called the scaling debate, where we had issues where Bitcoin was hitting his limits, where everyone knows about the 1 megabyte blocks and it's getting full. And that's where they had the idea of Bitcore, where it's kind of a fork of Bitcoin with a higher blocks, which everyone would now say, oh, it's Bitcoin Cash. But no, it's not Bitcoin Cash, because we created Bitcore earlier than Bitcoin Cash. It was the first proper fork of Bitcoin. And we not call it fork, we call it a hybrid fork. I will explain why and show some facts. So launched April 2017. Max supply same, 21 million coins, block size 10 megabytes. With SegWit it's 20 megabytes, 2.5 min block time. It's that facts. Big difference from Bitcoin is that it's GPU mineable, because we wanted to make it more decentralized. In the mining, I myself run the mining pool for Bitcore. It's a Bitcore pool. I will show that later. But we think that GPU mineable coin is much more decentralized, because it's no big ASIC farms behind it. And that's the new algo as well, which was Chris developed time travel 10. And it also has a difficulty retarget algorithm, which means if a lot of miners jump into the pool, let's say if the price starts going up and a lot of miners jump in, we're not going to produce more blocks or something, and we will retarget the difficulty. And also if the big mining power leaves the pool or the chain, then it will retarget the difficulty back to lower. So it's not going to block the whole chain, and no transactions will be processed. And that's a new algorithm. Maybe Chris can talk about in more technical details. We just may make a new name for it just before the presentation. It's a fair distribution as well, because it's not a fork like one-to-one fork of Bitcoin, which I think it's another issue with all these Bitcoin forks, that everyone forks the Bitcoin and then just goes, everyone who had Bitcoin now has this other coin, which is an issue, because not everyone has Bitcoin, or not everyone had Bitcoin before. So we need to do more fair distribution. And that fair distribution comes from us, in terms of airdrops or the climbing, which for the existing Bitcoin holders. And mining is still possible after. So call it the new alternative. So this is the scaling debate I was talking about, that Bitcoin got really high transaction fees, and because of the block was getting full. And why is it a hybrid fork then? Now I'm getting to there. So what we did is fork the Bitcoin code base, not the chain. I will explain it. It's a new chain. It's empty chain. That's why it's only around 400 megabytes. But then we fill all the Bitcoin addresses with Bitcore, in 0.5 Bitcoin for 1 BTC. So the rest of the coins from the fork are used for the airdrops, which I think is very clever fork, and Jimmy Song wrote about it and called it the most clever fork of Bitcoin. You can read about that in that article. So fair distribution thanks to airdrops. Airdrops are running since last year, so it will finish end of this month, maybe beginning of May, depending how many coins the team has left. And some of the coins are also distributed to the dev fund. It's about some facts about how many transactions Bitcore can process on-chain. There are also some discussions if the off-chain transactions or Lightning, but there's a lot of other discussions if Bitcore could do that as well or not. I think there is a lot of discussions in the team if should or shouldn't with the new Lightning hype around it. So where do we go from here? After the airdrops are finished and Bitcore team basically just starting, and we just basically started and the distribution is over, and everyone call it, oh, what's going to happen now? And basically that's, we start as a foundation, and Ivo is going to present you the machine, which we bring it in. It's a prototype of which we call a BTX M, and maybe you can tell more details.
Well, actually, it's quite exciting for us because of the end of the airdrop is when our coin will actually start, and we will start to launch a new phase in how we will conquer the world with our coin. We aim to be a payment coin, and that's nice and all because there are so many already, and what makes us different from the rest, and how can we actually achieve these goals, and how do you actually get people to use cryptocurrency in general? These are all issues that we don't see any solutions for at the moment. So we gave it some thought and actually came up with one interpretation of a solution. I want to present to you our BTX M. It's not a final product. It's not ready for production at this moment. It's just basically a concept that connects two of our projects. We have one project which we're pretty excited about, which is nearing completion, and that is a fiat gateway. This will enable merchants to accept Bitcore and get fiat in their accounts directly. The other part is we have this machine. This machine is not an ATM, even though it looks like one. Of course, you can buy Bitcore on it or other coins or whatever. You can also sell them. This version is only one way, but all the versions are going to be two-way. What this does is integrate services. So, for example, if you have a corner store and you want to sell top-up cards, we integrate the top-up card service. On top of that, the vendor is automatically able to accept Bitcore. But besides cash, it can take cash, but it can also take coin. So you can take coin and buy your top-up cards, which is a service that is normally only for fiat. So if you have cash, no problem. If you have coin, either no problem. This is mainly for the non-crypto community. So every corner store can have their own services. Every branch can have their own services integrated on these machines. In the end, we integrate Bitcore on top of it as an extra. So this will expose to many new users. Personally, I expect that most of the vendors who will be operating one of these machines will actually not have anything to do with crypto in general. So it's just new for them. There will be online services, and you can think, for example, betting, online betting. It can be integrated into these machines in a way that there is no physical coins in the machine necessary. It is just a cash gateway. It connects cash to any service that we want. And it connects Bitcore, of course, to any service that we want. We can actually do a real transaction, I think. We've only implemented one service at the moment, and this is the buying coin, which makes it effectively makes it an ATM. You choose your coin, you choose buy. Do you have a wallet or not? No, we don't have a wallet. Generate one. Spits out paper wallet, just like most ATMs actually do. Scan the QR code. This one takes euros, so I'll put in the euros. press done, and then basically it funds the paper wallet that we made. You can also, with the other machines, you can also sell them in a similar way. So this is the ATM service. Now, normally ATMs will take a pretty steep fee. This is how they work. Yeah, there's like 5% or 10% or whatever, and this is, makes it very impractical for people to actually use these machines. Because this is a service, the operator will get a small fee for every service that is running on this machine. That means that there's no dynamic fees for them. There's just the fees, the commissions they would normally make on their products that they sell on these machines. So for example, if you sell top-up cards, you take between 5 and 10% somewhere. It's negotiable. So they take this percentage. Also, because they use the crypto, they get the same kind of deal. They take 2% on the transaction, for example. In reality, if these machines get put everywhere in the world, you can send cash on the fly over the world everywhere, because you put in your money, buy the coins on the machine, send the coins to someone else around the world. They can go to a similar machine and cash the coins out in a similar fashion. So that way, two people make money in the end. The first one makes 2% on the transaction, and the other one makes 2% on the transaction, which still makes it that much cheaper than, for example, Western Union. That's about everything there's to tell about this machine at this moment.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very good. So who is behind this coin? I just wanted to have a few words about Limax, which is the kind of the team behind Bitcore. They also run some other coins, Bitsend, BitCloud, Diamond, Europecoin. Not going to mention them, but it's all maintained by these guys. And we have a lot of other supporters from all around the world, freelancers from India, Germany, UK, and yeah. And then who is interested in the project, we would really love to, if you can try us out. It's Bitcore wallet available. Wallet links is in the presentation. I'm not sure if I can share it to the people after this. Block Explorer, you can find us on CoinMarketCap. There's a Coinomi wallet, and then we are on exchanges as well. So yeah, and this machine is a prototype, and it will go into the production when the software development is over, which probably in a few months' time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Now, this is probably not the first time someone said this, but it kind of sounds like Bitcoin Core, right? Because someone could mistake that for Bitcoin Core. Have you ever heard that before?
We heard it before, but actually the idea is that in the future we might actually surpass Bitcoin.
Okay,
gotcha. It's an entirely different discussion.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Let's put the lights back up. Does anyone have a question for the team Bitcore? Anybody? I knew you would. This man's a gorilla.
So great presentation. I notice in your slides you talked about Bitcore having 80 times the capacity of Bitcoin, which, if I do my sums correctly, means you're around 500 or so transactions per second, because Bitcoin is about, theory, well, possibly up to 7, but that's in theoretically. So you're around 500 transactions a second?
I don't do the math at the moment, but I think in theory we can handle how many a day at this point?
I think there is a difference with our block size and if it is with enabled block, and also like the on-chain transactions. Yeah. But so I wanted to say that it's a different, because we have 10 megabyte blocks and with SegWit enabled it's 20 megabytes. It can fit more transactions in a...
Indeed, at the expense of the blockchain increasing in size faster.
But we start off with a really small chain, so the scaling issue is much less with us. I think if you look at Bitcoin now, you have like, what is it, 135 gigabytes. We start off with 400, so even if we increase, it really doesn't matter that much. We still stay...
Indeed, I'm thinking of your transactions per second, because if I look at a Visa or a MasterCard, these guys are handling in the order of 10,000, 20,000 transactions per second.
There's still a lot that can be done in blockchain to improve this, but for now we are a really small coin, and we already have the capacity to outclass Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, you name them, we outclass them in amounts of transactions.
Absolutely, you know, you're of the cryptocurrencies, you're probably the fastest. But compared to where the centralized parties are, they are orders of magnitude still faster than you.
Yeah, but there's also a different discussion. There's also the issue that crypto in general is not mainstream yet. Yeah? So
Indeed.
We don't need that capacity at this point. Once we reach these issues, we come up with solutions and implement them. There is no coin that has done more transactions or bigger transactions at a time than Bitcore has. We are the record holder for biggest blocks, filled blocks actually, and we tested it in practice. We funded every Bitcoin holder with Bitcore in a matter of 3 days.
Yeah. So that was our scalability test when we burned the Bitcore to all the Bitcoin addresses, and it was real on-chain transactions, and I think it's still the most transactions processed per few days.
There's no other coin that made these amounts of transactions up until now.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. In order to really compete as a real-world currency, you've got to go up orders of magnitude, and that's where the real challenge is.
And that will be in the future. That's not at this time. That's not really an issue. It will take long before we reach that point.
Yeah. And
how did you trim the blockchain down to 400 megabytes?
Pardon?
You said you got the size of the actual blockchain down to 400 megabytes?
400.
Yeah, you said you trimmed it somehow.
Yeah, because it's a new blockchain. It's not a fork. It's a new chain, which is
no
empty.
history.
And then we just took a snapshot of the Bitcoin blockchain, and every address that had an amount of 001, I think, was the amount. We funded them with Bitcore.
0.5 Bitcore for every 1 Bitcoin, is it?
And it doesn't have the old transaction history.
It doesn't have
the
that's
history
the one, right?
is not there, so we don't need the old ledger. Why should we if we are a new coin?
Gotcha. Anybody else like to ask a question? Come on, there's loads of people in here. I'm going to have to do a hypnotic trance on you again. Here we go.
We have already tested transactions per second by Bitcore, and we have written up over 5 million transactions in a very, very short time. The core can handle that.
How short a time?
That was
3 days, I think.
3 days, and the limit was not the cores. The limit was we.
The limit was lining up the transactions to actually make them, physically make them. That's the hard part.
We had not enough computers and peoples for enter the commands.
And actually, when we was doing these transactions, I ran the mining pool for Bitcore. So when actually not the chain had a problem, but the mining pool, YIMP pool, had a bug in the code where it couldn't, if it processed more transactions in one block, the block got rejected, and we fixed a few issues with the YIMP as well, so it can actually process that many transactions and accept the block, because the block was too big to be as an accepted block. So it was discovered by Tuprovet, and
there are other coins that can actually transact huge amounts of transactions. However, 0 of them are proven. And this is one of the things that Team Bitcore wants to do differently. We had the scaling debate with, do we implement SegWit, don't we implement SegWit? Team Bitcore just went ahead, let's see what happens if we implement it. So this is basically the philosophy. Show real results instead of just debating them.
And we have optional SegWit blocks already on a pool. So if there is a SegWit transaction, we can get access to the SegWit block, and it gets written into the chain. So we have different blocks on a blockchain. We have SegWit blocks and non-SegWit blocks. If there is non-SegWit transaction only, then it can be a non-SegWit block. Otherwise, it's a SegWit block. It's on the chain as well.
Any more questions?
Okay. Last call for questions for Bitcore. Oh, now they're bubbling up. We'll go this lady here and this gentleman here.
Hi. I was looking for business use cases for Bitcore, and then I came across something you're doing in Australia, where Australians can pay their bills with Bitcore.
Yes.
Yeah.
So can you just tell us more about that?
You were talking about Satoshi's living room?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, basically what that does is it enables people to, there's this company and they take care of your bills. So you can pay that with crypto, and Bitcore is one of them. Actually, we're actually climbing the ladder quite nicely. You can pay your utility bills, your electricity, whatever, your water, phone bills, whatever you want. You can pay with it by submitting the Bitcoin to them, and they take care of the fiat part of it.
The living room of Satoshi. That's a good one.
And there's more of them.
Is that still only Australia? Because I'd like to use that.
I was talking with you earlier, and you were talking that it was a hybrid fork of not just Bitcoin, but it also incorporated Dash and had a masternode system on your coin.
I think you weren't talking to me.
Oh,
but
I was talking to him about it. So it's just a fork of Bitcoin that's faster and has a larger block size.
This is kind of different. We also use different protocols, and the core is pretty heavily modified by Chris, and it has a few nice add-ons as well.
It's a GPU coin, so it's ASIC resistant, and it's a different algorithm than Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash.
But it's not just the Bitcoin code with a different algorithm implemented. There's more modifications to it.
Which I was saying before, the difficulty retarget. So when the lot of hash comes or leaves the chain, we not get stuck. While if a lot of hash leaves Bitcoin Cash, then they can't process a transaction because the difficulty is too high to mine a block. And
if you want the nitty-gritty on the exact core, you should better talk to Chris. He's the actual coder of the software, and he can give you a headache in no time.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions bubbled up here? One there, one there.
Doesn't Lightning just make these forks outright obsolete in general?
Well, actually, that's what everyone is thinking, that because Bitcoin implemented Lightning, that all our troubles are solved. But this is not true. The debate is very broad, and we won't have enough in half an hour. But there's also big risks to implementing Lightning Network. For example, from a KYC standpoint, or if the technology fails once, what happens then? Yeah, how do the rollbacks, do they actually work? Don't they work? How can we keep track of the ledger if it's off-chain? These are all valid concerns. So personally, our view is on-chain is the way to go. Either you can have side chains, of course, but it has to be on-chain. And another issue that Lightning Network might have is, what if one person controls all the nodes, or the major piece of all the nodes? Because the Lightning Network really centralizes Bitcoin, even more than it already is. And as we know, Bitcoin is already pretty central because of ASICs controlled by only a few parties. So there's major risks involved with Lightning Network.
And Lightning is basically a big test. It's not run by the Bitcoin core dev team. It's another team. So for whatever reason, if it fails, it's not associated with Bitcoin that much.
True. It's its own network, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lightning.
So
one of the biggest problems maybe also in Lightning, you must be online. So you can't send money to an offline wallet.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a cold Lightning wallet, right? They're all hot wallets. Right. It's a trade-off. Right.
So no, to answer your question in short, it really doesn't make coins like Bitcoin obsolete.
Yeah.
So can you stake Bitcoin?
It's not. No, you don't stake it. It's basically we have the airdrop phase now, and the airdrop phase is kind of like staking, but you get rewarded if you sign up for the airdrops.
And you hold the balance on that.
You hold a balance of minimum 1 Bitcoin on that wallet, then you get rewarded. At this point in time, it's like 8% interest. But the airdrop is nearing, and the entire idea of the airdrop is only distribution. Yeah? If we airdrop coins to people, it means that the coins go from hand to hand to hand. And because Bitcoin has like 9 years on us, they had 9 years to actually get a user base. We want to do this a little bit quicker, and this is one of the reasons why we implemented the airdrop system. We're nearing the end now, so the distribution phase is over, and this is when we start launching services, start creating real utility for the coin with real infrastructure and making it usable and accessible for normal people, even if they don't know anything about crypto. It's also one of our missions to educate people about how does the technology work, how can you use it. Many people actually have never ever used a wallet prior to signing up for the airdrop. Okay. It requires you to download a client, manage your own private keys, sign a message, and there's tutorials.
Send your coins out from the exchange.
There's a lot of help in the community that actually makes people use this coin in a way that it coins are supposed to be used.
So, I don't know about your airdrop. I haven't heard too much about it, but it sounds like it will link people's email addresses to their coins.
No, actually, that's not required. It only requires you have a valid address with one Bitcore on it, and you sign a message that says airdrop. That's it.
Okay, but when you go onto your website, it asks for your email address.
It doesn't ask your email address. It doesn't register anything. It's not information harvesting. The reason you sign the message is so we know which wallets are actually people interested in the coin and want to receive these airdrops.
Okay.
Very interesting. And oh my goodness, here we go. It's like a chain. Isn't it?
So does the 10 megabyte block size in any way increase the centralization of this and compared to like blockchain, Bitcoin?
No, it doesn't have any impact on centralization. It just means that we're able to fit more transactions into one single block.
Doesn't that increase the mining difficulty?
No, it doesn't have to. Oh, he can talk about the difficulty.
Yeah, so yes, the mining difficulty depends on how many miners or how much hash power trying to get the next block. The size doesn't really matter. The size matters in some security issues, or if the size or sizing issues. There was a lot of discussions why Bitcoin didn't want to increase the size, which we think it's not an issue now, because the issue was that if the size is too big and the network can't handle it, but I don't think in 2018 it's a problem to have a 10 megabytes block, 20, even 100 megabytes block will just work, but currently not needed. So.
Okay, cheers.
All right, your last call. This is the second last call before the third last call. No. Okay, going once. Got in your areas, let's see.
In the nick of time.
It's a bit of a follow-on to my last question, really, but why do people have to register? Why didn't you just give them their coins?
Well, that would initially benefit big Bitcoin holders. And we also wanted to benefit community members, new people to crypto.
Yep.
It's very important that we create a new user base. Bitcoin, why should you be rewarded extra just for owning Bitcoin? Why is there no reward if you join now, today?
So kind of like an engagement reward, right?
Yeah,
you said
because
you want people who are interested to actually sign the message.
Once we funded the chain, that means that if we go your route, we would fund every address a percentage of these coins.
Well, that's what people have been doing traditionally so far.
Yeah, and we want to go the different route. If you're a new user, you don't have any coins at the moment that they actually were baked into the chain. So you don't have the opportunity to participate in airdrops if you were not a Bitcoin holder initially.
Alrighty then, that brings us to the end of this session. Let's have a round of applause for Ivo and Greg.